We hear a lot of perspectives on the Mankind podcast. Inclusion of a guest is not an endorsement of their views, and the opinions expressed here do not always represent the mission or values of the Mankind Project USA.
Looks like the rain has gone.
What does spirit mean to you? I mean, really, what does spirit mean to you? So when you hear the word spirit, or someone says, stay connected to spirit, or liven up your spirit, what does all that mean? When I first started in my work, and by that I mean like when I got initiated through the Mankind Project, New Warrior Training Adventure, and also my journey through yoga, shamanism, meditation, mindfulness, I developed a connection with spirit. Growing up religious, growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, I had my idea of what spirit was, and it was more along a religious context, like God. And I realized as I did my work and my journeys and went through my experiences and teachings and evolution, spirit became something that was more than a religious thing. It was, for lack of a better term, spiritual. It was from within. It was also an alignment to energies and resources that are unseen. And I remember when I really dove into this concept, I met a man on a weekend, Larry Hurley. And Larry locked it in for me about what spirit can be and the resources that were available to support me in stepping up into my power. Wow. Whew. This man lit me up. And I'm looking forward to you all hearing his voice, and also hearing the voice of another man that has had a major impact and influence on me, Darryl Hansome, who is currently the chair for the Mankind Project. Both of these men are Black men, and I hold them in high regard because they have supported me over the years as an example and mentors of how I can show up powerfully in this world and in my mission. And they've taught me some very powerful things. And this podcast, they taught me even more. So enjoy, embrace this listen, and begin to get curious as to what's your connection to spirit can look like. And I want to put a disclaimer out there. I'm working on my podcast skills. So I'm working on getting like the noises and stuff in the background gone, working on my equipment. I wanted to get this information out here. So I say that because you're going to hear some dogs in the background. You're going to hear some phone dinging. I was so engrossed in the conversation that I went with it. So I'm excited for you all to hear this episode with two men I hold dearly in my heart and in my soul and in my spirit. So enjoy, and here's the episode. Before we dive into this conversation, and before I introduce these, what I consider gems of the human existence, I would like for us to do something I like to do before these types of sacred experiences, and that's call in the ancestors, those unseen guides, those ones that have came before us and dreamed these moments. Call them in so that they can help guide and steer this conversation for the highest good of us all. And to do that, I'm honored to invite our brother Larry Hurley to call on the ancestors for this podcast edition. Larry, could you do so, please?
Ancestors, this is Larry, son of Louise and Timothy. You know me. I appreciate the fact that every time I call on you, you show up. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going to say. You just tell me to show up and you'll handle that. And you always do. I need you today and says, I need you to fill this room. I need you to hear what I'm saying. I need you to guide me. Ashe.
Blessings. Chills. So for those that are listening, thank you for showing up for this podcast. This podcast is for you if you have had times in your life where you've had a big decision to make and you needed some special guidance. This podcast for you is if you know that there's something big and powerful and potent within you, and you have yet to figure out how to unleash it. This podcast for you. This podcast for you is if you want to develop yourself and evolve yourself. This podcast for you with these two gems that I have here today. Speaking of gems and who they are, is Larry Hurley and Darryl Hansome. Two of my Mankind Project brothers. Larry Hurley is a ritual elder. Darryl Hansome is the MKP Chair. Yeah. Darryl, I was thinking about this. Did I get the title of that right?
Yes, you did, brother.
Man, listen, I know you're hearing this, and you most likely can hear the smile on my face as I'm saying this and introducing this brother. So before I want to bring their voices to this, I want to introduce them based on my experiences with them, and I'll keep it brief because I want most of this time to be like you all hearing their voices and their experiences. So first Darryl Hansome, and then we're gonna go to Larry. So Darryl Hansome, I met at a Mankind Project weekend. For those that are unfamiliar with what that is, that listen to this, it's a weekend called the New Warrior Training Adventure that's hosted and held by the Mankind Project. And when I was staffing one of the weekends, this is the first time I met Darryl. And I had always heard about these, I guess like it's called the mythopoetic version of like the Gallant Knights and the Green Knight and Gallant and all these European types of things. And I remember the first time I met Darryl, I remember looking at him and watching. I'm saying like you're out of here. I'm speaking to you, Darryl. I remember looking at you and seeing you and how you carried yourself. And then I remember hearing the first time, remember the first time I heard your voice, and it was really velvety and stern and resonant. And I was like, oh my God, that's a Black Knight. Like, and I remember just thinking, it's like this man this entity that is driven by a higher purpose and has values and commitments and will cut your mother high throat if you go against the code. Bro, watch yourself. Don't let the smooth taste fool you. And I remember I was like, I am digging this dude. From the first time I met him, I was like, this guy is of a higher breed, being, constitution. And ever since then, whenever I see Darryl in the room, I'm like, my man. And I see that smile and I'm like, man, I hug him tight. He's a beautiful man. I am honored that he's here with us. And I am so over the moon and energized that he's a chair, and it's in these times for the Mankind Project, and an organization that I consider has helped me stay alive. And I'm happy as a man of color that he's at the helm right now. So I'm excited for you, Darryl. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. And before I go to Larry, Darryl, is there anything, and welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the podcast. Is there anything else you want to add in that you'd like for the people to know about you, man?
You humble me, brother. I am so proud of you and being here with you and Larry, one of my mentors. Okay. I'm just humbled. And yeah, I don't have much more to say right now, but thank you.
Blessings, Darryl. I love you, man. I adore you, man. Man. Now, Larry Hurley. Yes. Okay, so when I first started staffing weekends, all right, I remember staffing the New Warrior Training weekends. I remember it was the first couple times as I was going into these staffings, and I was one of, if not, I was most likely one of the maybe 2 to 4 Black men on staff. And I was doing my best to recall last night what staffing I did with Larry Hurley. And I was like, it doesn't even matter. I remember the first time I saw this dude. First of all, Larry Hurley, he's about 6'4", and he stands about like 8'7". So I remember I was like, who is this guy? I just couldn't take my eyes off him. And then I heard his voice and I heard the things that he said, and I watched how he held men. And what I mean by that, for those that are like, what is he talking about? I'm talking about when men were going through their doo-doo, when men were freaking uncertain, when men were in tears, when men were in fear, when men were in joy, when men didn't know where the hell they were. This brother right here was looking them all up in their optic stem and letting them know wherever they were was welcome and okay, and exactly where they were supposed to be. And I was like, I want to know that guy. And here he goes. And Larry Hurley, over the years, has given me confirmation in times when I was like, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing here. And Larry, he was like, they dreamed you, Paul. The ancestors knew, you know why you're here. Remember why you're here. To the point where, for those that have seen the Black Panther, I remember first time I seen the Black Panther, and Angela Bassett had this quote to T'Challa. She was like, remember who you are. I remember telling my girlfriend they got that from Larry Hurley. They got that from Larry Hurley. Stop playing. Ryan Coogler, I know you did. So Larry Hurley, just sum it up. Larry Hurley is that one, that man that will make you believe in yourself and make you know and remember where you came from so that you stand firm in your purpose for why you're here. So bless up to you, Larry Hurley. Thank you for taking this time, both of you, to be here. And Larry, is there anything that you'd like to add into your intro that you'd like the people to know about you, man?
Paul, I'm very, I'm almost embarrassed at the way you introduced me, but thank you. I simply see myself as a conduit, trying to deliver something that, with my words, I believe it's spirit. I'm just a conduit.
Yeah, bless him.
And I show up to let men know, hey, you belong here. Ain't nothing wrong. You're in the right place at the right time.
Damn.
That strength is brought to me because I follow my ancestors. In Africa, there are a number of different religions, different beliefs. But a little man named Meldon Somé told me that my ancestors are waiting for me to, they're waiting for you, Larry, to get in the game. So every day I thank them and I get in the game.
Bless up. I'm so happy you're in the game, bro. I'm so happy in the game. Larry, when you talk about the answers, I've always been curious, like, and you mentioned Malidoma Somé. I've always been curious of, like, what brought you into this connection with your ancestors and what keeps you there, man?
Well, honestly, the wife of a leader at Mankind, she locked me down and she said, you've got something to bring, but you have to understand that this ain't about you. I said, huh? No. You've got a gift, but it ain't about you. It's about everybody, men and women who will listen to what you have to say. That bothered me because I thought I respected this lady and I respected her husband. And I thought, I think she's off her rocker. But I'll be kind. And the more she talked, the more I realized, oh hell, I can feel something, even though I don't know what it is, but I feel something. And I learned that ancestralization is something that was taught by a man named Mentorship. And ancestralization is the honoring of all of your ancestors that came before you. And by the way, just in case you don't want to get it twisted, your ancestors, my ancestors, they come in all shapes, forms, and colors.
Can I get an amen?
So don't think that it's exclusive just to me and you, because in the real world, it's not.
Hey, Larry, one thing I want to thank you for that, man, because me personally, whenever I think of the ancestors, a lot of times, especially in the beginning, I would think that was something that was specific to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Black population, or like something that was like our heritage. And I remember listening to more of Malidoma Somé. He was like, listen, ancestors come in all shapes and sizes. They're here to help us regardless. They're in the realm that's beyond a color, right? They're like, it's a lineage. So one of the reasons I want to pause and honor that is because for those that are like, this concept is new, can you share what would be some ways of honoring the ancestors, connecting the ancestors come across or taught?
It has been said by Melodoma that here in the West, we have a whole lot of problems because, well, white America turned their backs on their ancestors. And I believe that. I honestly do. Whenever I don't give credit to my ancestors, they let me know. Somewhere during the day, I get messages. But it's easy because, Paul, I have called on good folks who are not here anymore. I've called on Latino ancestors. I've called on white ancestors. In other words, in that world, there's no such thing as black or white or Latino. It's all of these people, all of my ancestors are always right there on my shoulder, whether I know it or not.
Yeah.
Because they don't leave me. They don't desert me. They'll kick me in the butt, but they won't do that. They don't just leave me. I believe deeply when I'm at a loss, when I'm in a place where I don't know what to say, I don't know where I'm going, I say, do not fail me now. I need you. I'm doing what you told me to do. I'm showing up. Now, give me what I need. Help this man hear me. Help these men hear me, but give me what I need.
Yeah.
It ain't never fucking failed. I'm sorry. It ain't never failed. No.
Yes.
Never.
Yes.
Scares the hell out of me because it never fails. They show up.
Yeah.
They show up.
I think that when you mentioned something that's really powerful, right? Is that there's a fear that I've experienced with this is like of calling on them because they will show up, especially when I stay open to how they can show up. You know, like I was, a little thing before the podcast. I was telling Larry, like we're sharing with our frustrations, and I was actually Larry opened up space for me to share mine. And I was saying I was like going for this job, and I was like, I really want this job. And I was like, oh, ancestors, you know how bad I want this. Come on, bring it on. And when I got this call today that they froze the recruitment, I was like, why? You know, you got me all hyped up, ancestors. Why you do this? Why'd you do this to me? Right. And then I was like, okay, you got a plan. You got a plan. So you did this for me. So I'm just going to ride the wave. And why I bring this up is because over the years, especially like getting to know Larry and following his guidance and like who to follow and things of research, I'm realizing that over the years, I create this space, this ritual space. And this is a space that I want to bring into the conversation because the ritual space really helps me to address difficult situations in my life, address difficult decisions, right? Directions, paths to take. And I want to, Darryl, I want to bring you in to the conversation because when we were all doing our pregame, I call it, right, as I have my hands in quotes, the pregame, we're talking about Darryl's experience. And I thought it was like, as he was telling me this, I was hanging on every word because what he experienced in his experience to deciding to become the chair of MKP, in my judgment was, I guess ritualistic is the word, ancestral. It just was so connected and grounded. And so Darryl, if I could just bring this in. So what for you, what is your connection with spirit? And how you connect to the ancestors, man?
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm learning every day. Okay. I am learning every day. And as Larry had said, when you call on them, they respond. They're there.
Yeah.
At times I forget. And I go about my life and things may seem like they're falling apart.
Mm.
And then when I take the time to sit down and to call on them in whatever way that I'm going to do that,
Yeah.
I get grounded, I get settled, and things start falling into place. And it may not be, as you said just now about your job, it may not be exactly as how you want.
Yep.
But who knows what's around the corner?
Thank you, brethren. Thank you.
You know, what we wanted right now, what we know is best for us right now, may not be what is planned for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we took what was there right now, we might miss what the universe has in store for us. So I approach it with a mystery. I don't know. And even more so, I don't know what I don't know.
Brother, man, this is why, man, brother, you are, listen, I remember my Reiki teachers telling me, like, mastery is realizing you don't know what you don't know. Yo, you don't know what you don't know. You think you know something? Shoot, you have yet to reach mastery level. And you know, Darryl, you said something that I think was so important that I want to highlight before we go on. You mentioned about when you're connecting, in whatever way I'm going to do that. And I want to pause on that point because for those, for if you're listening to this, like this connection to the ancestors, and again, disclaimer, it could be your word for this could be source, guides, loved ones, angels. We're detached from what it is to you. There is a higher source that is aligned to you, that is at your side, front, back, up top, helping you, guiding you on, kicking you in the booty, like Larry said, right? So I want to acknowledge that there are many ways for you to connect to this energy. And something else Darryl said was having that time, like carving out that time and space to do that, right? And again, this is where I think the ritual comes into play, because when I have that space, now I have the ability to really explore various other rituals into like really getting to a decision or aligning to purpose. So Darryl, I want to check in, right? So when you talked about you becoming the chair, and you became the chair when?
January 1st of this year, 2022.
Okay, January 1st. Now, when did they approach you about this position?
First time was June of 2020, and I ignored it. I didn't know. I got a call. I didn't recognize the number.
Mm-hmm.
And the voicemail was left. I didn't even check the voicemail because it didn't matter to me. I wasn't interested. I didn't know what it was. I was contacted again a month later. And I was on a Zoom call, and I was asked to stay over on that for a moment. And that's when I was asked.
Wow. So before we get into your decision, because I remember you said it took you a bit to make a decision. Can you help shed some light for me anyway? Because I have an idea of what being a chair is, and that means basically I have no idea. So can you share what are like being a chair of an organization like MKP or the Mankind Project? What does that include, man? What are some of the responsibilities that are on your plate now?
So first, I'll say that it's unique for every man. Okay, because every man is unique and brings their own special abilities, talents, and it's unique in that time and place or space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because if I was to do it today, it'd be different than if I was to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so for me, what you're asking, as chair-elect, I said that I want to hear every man that wants to speak to me. It was important that every man knew that their voice was heard. And that's a tall order.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a tall order, man. And I'm making an effort to do that. I don't know if I'm doing that well or not, but I am making an effort.
Yeah.
It's my intention to hear men. And because I hear them, doesn't mean that they're going to get what they want.
Right.
But they will be heard. Okay. They will be heard. And that does have an impact on me.
Yeah.
And that impact will influence the governing of this organization.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man. You got
yeah, no, I was just going to say, so it's almost like being a goodwill ambassador. Okay.
Yeah.
With so much more. For me, what I want to do also, I want to connect with the other heads of the other regions of MKP, because we are an international organization. I want to know who's out there sitting and what's happening with them.
Yeah.
What are their issues, and to let them know what's happening here and what our issues are, and maybe we can find commonality and help to work through some of these issues that we have.
Blessings, man. I really, man, as I'm hearing you speak, I feel a grounding coming over me. And also what's coming up for me are the fears and also the judgments that I have, to be frank, because when I heard that you were going to be chair, and especially and really hearing also the responsibilities and your intentions about ensuring that every man is heard. When I found out you were going to be chair, like the fears were that there would be a lot of projections on you, that there were going to be a lot of targets on you. There was like this judgment that this is a marketing ploy. There was a judgment that that a predominantly white organization would fail to follow. And like my I guess it's like my untrusting side, that part of me that's untrusting was just like, yo, what are they gonna try? What are they gonna do to sabotage this cat, man? I will cut a mother. Yo, they don't know. I got some samurai blades up in this piece. I will cut a cat. You know, so like I had that stuff going on, man. Like in my head, I was like, oh my goodness, I feel a certain way. So I'm curious for you, like, right? Like, because well, first of all, did things like that come up for you? And then I want to get into like, how did you process making the choice to take this position? So first, like, what were did some things come up for you when you got this invitation to be a chair?
They thank you, Paul. They did, and I thought that, to be honest, I thought it was bullshit. I thought somebody was pulling my leg, and I'll share the story with you, and I want to share something else that's timely that just happened yesterday, but I'll share this first. And what happened to me, I didn't say no at the time, and I was told in this conversation, at least I didn't say no, and which means I didn't burn my bridge. Okay. Because listening to it, I did think it wasn't true, but I listened, and not saying no gave me the opportunity to investigate and to see what's with this, if I want to do this or not.
Yeah.
So immediately I called my mentor, one of my mentors there, Larry Hurley, and I said, "Hey man, I need to talk to you." And he said, "Okay." And I said, "No, we can't do it on the phone. I need to come out and see you." So he said, "Okay, tomorrow." And sure enough, I came out to Larry's place. I was going to say palatial estate, Larry, but it's a Larry's place, and which it is. It's a hot space out here, and you can hear the birds
are chirping. As the birds are chirping,
they're validating that. And so I came out here and I said to Larry, I said, "You won't believe what happened." I said, "I got a call yesterday," and I said, these guys are, I think this is a joke. They want me to be chair elect and then to be chair. And I'm thinking Larry's gonna like, yeah, yeah, forget them or whatever. And instead Larry said, "Good." He said, "You're the right man at the right time." And I looked at him in disbelief. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to pause there for a second. Larry.
Yes, sir.
Please take me through what you were experiencing when Darryl came to you and told you this proposal.
Well, to be candid with you, I worried about my partner. I worried about my friend. I wanted to be, in the past, there have been experiences that make me sometimes wonder about the authenticity of some of the things the men say.
Yeah.
And I wanted to take care of my friend. But I realized it ain't my job to take care of him. He makes his own decisions. But I said, think about it for a minute. Just think about it. Is there anybody else in this organization that can do this job better than you? He went, huh? I said, yeah, you heard me. I heard. I said, you don't have to tell me now. You just sleep on that and you think about that.
Yeah, right. Word.
Is there another man who is going to do a better job than you will? Yeah. And we'll talk about this again tomorrow.
Word. So now, okay, so you just say, okay, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. So Darryl, coming back to you now, right? He's saying this. I want to bring something back in that you said, because when I asked about the responsibility of chair, you said each man brings something different. So before you talk to like that, the rest of like the embarking on this journey, right? Can you please share with us, what is it about you that you bring to the chair, or that you, at this point, that you intend to bring to the chair that's all you?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. It's taken a lot of soul searching for me to answer that, to figure that out. And the answer today may be different than the answer tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep.
But what I believe that I bring, that I attempt to bring, is fairness. Okay. Transparency, and some will not agree with me on that. One of the tenets that I try to live my life by is that I want to treat you how I want you to treat me.
Mm.
And so I'm going to try to be honest with you, upfront, fair, give you an even break.
Mm.
And that's not always true. I won't always be able to do that.
Mm.
You know, in this organization, we say that this is an organization of men that live their lives with integrity and being accountable. I don't say that. I say, and I'm speaking about me personally when I say this, but I say that we try to live our lives with integrity, and we try to be accountable. And I say try because I'm falling in and out of that all the time. Yeah. And it's an effort. It's an effort to get back into that, to get back into accountability, to get back into living my life with integrity.
Yeah.
Because I'm fallible.
If you're enjoying the Mankind podcast, how about checking out an online men's group? Imagine a brotherhood where men really listen and support each other to be the best of who they are. It's free, confidential, and facilitated. Groups are available multiple times every week. Just go to bit.ly/open men's group to learn more.
That's truth, man. Thank you. And thank you for that, man. Because I think that's one of the things that I think it can and be an enhancement in our collective is leaders acknowledging infallibility. Like, I messed up. My part, you know what? This is how I can do better this time or next, or like in this next experience. So I appreciate you saying that, man. Thank you for that. So I want, if you can please share, now that Larry told you to sleep on this, right? Like, there was a path that you took, bro. And I know you said you had to get some clearance on some things, but this story, oh my goodness, I was dreaming about this story, like seeing you in the whole thing at Shebang-a-Bang. So can you share, like, I'll probably do my best to be free of interruption, but can you please share that experience, man, and making the decision to do this, man?
Thank you, Paul. I will, and you can jump in anytime. And Larry can jump in anytime. So Larry and I have slightly different accounts, but it gets to the same endpoint. Okay. So when Larry expressed his opinion to me, and I was shocked, and I thought, and I said, okay, I need to talk to some other people then. And there's a man that I didn't know, but Larry knew. And I asked Larry if he would be willing to be in a conversation with myself and Jim Mitchell, who's the only other Black man who has sat in this position. And Larry said, yeah. And so we got him on the phone. He was out on a bicycle ride. When he finished that, he got on the call with us.
Word.
And Jim told me, he didn't know me, but he listened to what I had to say, what was happening. And then he told me that I need to look at why I want to do this and why I didn't want to do this. He also told me something that I've repeated before and I will continue to, because it still sits with me. It resounds with me. It has become part of me. Jim told me, you're not the magic Negro. You are not that one with all the answers. You are not all it. Is the way for me, the way that I take it. You are not the magic Negro.
Hot damn. Okay, I told myself I was going to be free of pause, and I got to pause here. because I think this is one of the stereotypical Black archetypes in the collective. That freaking magical Negro in bag of fans, like, hey, Mr. Judah, it's a take out the ha. You know, it's like, what is that crap, man? And it's like, and you know, being one of the you know, I gotta tell you, man, like the experience. I love weekends and being on staff, but now it's much better. But I remember when I first started staffing, like 6-7 years ago, being one of the few Black men, is like anytime there's some racial thing that came up, it was like, oh, everybody's coming to Paul. You know, this happened. It was like some sort of racial thing that happened, and they want to talk about it with me because they feel comfortable. And I'm like, I am not the magical Negro, man. I am like, I want to get some sleep. So I appreciate what this is, and because, like, listen, well, actually, before I make my judgment, it's like, so how did that land on you, man? Like when he said that, because this is a powerful thing he's saying right now. So how did that land on you, man?
It for me, it hit home. You know, and I'm sure many of us will interpret it differently.
Yeah.
You know, but for me, it hit home. It told me, you know, I don't have all the answers. This was when the protests were going because George Floyd had been murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting many calls to be on many panels, and I turned them down because I didn't want to speak. I was trying to figure out for myself how I felt.
Yep.
And I wasn't in a place to share that with anybody.
My man. Feel you.
So yeah, so it really struck home, and it still sits with me, and I carry that with me. I just happen to be the man in this position at this time. Okay, I am no better, no less than anyone else.
Blessings.
A man who just happens to be Black.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes. So wow, man. So Jim is saying, like, so I want to acknowledge Brother Mitchell for what he said, because you know, him saying that to you, and I'm hearing that, like, the first time I heard it, and even this time I'm hearing this as this acknowledgement and activation of grace. Because I think especially being in a leadership position, for me anyway, there's this internal oppression piece that I carry, that I gotta have all the answers or I failed. So I appreciate it, and I acknowledge Brother Mitchell, man. If you listen to this, thank you, brethren. I appreciate that. After this happened, like, was this it with Jim with
No.
Jim Mitchell, or did, like, what happened next?
Jim looked at me and he said, "You need to figure out why you want to do this and why you don't want to do this." And he said, "You need to get some help in doing that." And he told me also, he'd support me, whatever I decided, which I thought was very gracious of him. And I appreciate that. And the last thing he told me was to have fun. So the support I listened to Jim, and the support that I got, I went to, I conferred with Larry, and I got two incredible men, Ernest Patterson and Judge Maddox Jr.
Icons. Yep. Two other
Yep.
icons. Yep.
And the four of us got on a Zoom call, and these men went up one side of me and down the other. And they wouldn't turn me loose. At one time, they asked me, how did I feel? And I told them I was sad. And they continued on. And toward the end of that time, I judged that they were wrapping it up.
Excuse me.
Yeah, sure.
I asked them to hold on for a minute. I said, you asked me a question
Yeah.
and earlier, And I said, I gave you an answer, and I don't know if I was fully truthful with you. I said, you asked me, how did I feel? And the answer from my heart really is, I'm afraid. I am scared. I don't know what I'm getting into.
Yeah. Yeah.
And about that time, they told me, yeah, you're where you need to be.
Yeah, man. Wow, man. To continue on this piece, that acknowledgement of the fear, right? Like as I'm hearing this now, this the second time you told me, was that acknowledgement of a fear like a confirmation that this was the right path for you?
That was a validation of, I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
I need to find out what might be in store for me.
Yeah.
As I could say no to this, and I'd never know.
Yeah.
My life would take a different path.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wound up having the guidance also of a very wise woman who did a reading for me in the spirit that is done in Africa, and she told me some really incredible things, and mainly that the universe is saying this is the time. If I want it, it's now. If I want it. And that was a validation. So it's, as Larry spoke earlier about a woman who told him, you know, what we don't always acknowledge in our organization, the other 51% of the population of this world who are so powerful, who can do things that we cannot do.
Yeah.
They bring forth life. We don't.
Right. Yeah.
They're revered in many, many traditions. And at present, we don't in our culture, not like we should. So hearing that, it took me 5 more weeks to finally say yes, but that validated for me also.
Yeah. Wow, man. Like it's what I'm gathering, what I'm hearing is even after you got that confirmation, there was this like that 5 weeks, it seemed like there was this integration and processing period. I'm wondering if that's true. Is that what that was?
Yes.
It's very interesting, right? Because like I'm curious, man, after you sat with that for the 5 weeks, what was it like for you when you called and accepted it?
It was like putting on an old shirt. It was like, hey, this is comfortable. This is okay. You know, and that's because of the mentoring that I got. Okay. So Larry, Jim Mitchell, and the work that was done on me, that I was mentoring Ernest and Judge. And if I can, I want to share a mentoring that I saw yesterday. Okay. And I'm gonna date this podcast by doing this, but so I happened to turn on the Academy Awards last night, and I turned it on just before Chris Rock came to the stage, and the young brother looked over and made a remark about another brother's wife. He remarked about Jada Pinkett Smith, who had shaved her head. Her husband, Will Smith, was sitting there with her. He got up, went up on the stage, and open-handed slapped Chris Rock. That's what made the papers today and the social media. But that's not the important thing. The important thing is there's another black man there. I happened to online go and see there's a mention that Denzel Washington went over after Will Smith went back to his seat, went over to where Will and Jada were, put his arms around them and was speaking to them, probably speaking specifically to Will. Probably within a half an hour or so, Will was back up on stage, and this time because he had won the Academy Award for Best Actor. The man was humble. The man was vulnerable. The man spoke from his heart. He had tears streaming down both sides of his face as he spoke. I don't believe that would have taken place without the mentoring of his fellow brother, Denzel, who saw what needed to be done at that time for this man, so that this man could get up on that stage and talk about protecting his family, talk about love, and change the energy of the whole damn place.
Wow.
And that doesn't make the social media. I haven't heard a word about that mentoring,
That's
from one man to another.
And that's why I this podcast and this session and hearing your experience and you know and having Larry on in this mentorship, and you mentioning these other men that help guide. I think this is the part of mentorship most of the time that goes unseen. You know, it's the things that are far from flashy. They can be like, it can be ugly. All right. It can be ugly going in. Right. And because I'm sure you said when Ernest and Judge were going all upside you, boy, I'm sure there may have been some snot bubbles and a whole lot of crying and like anger tissues and all the goody goods. Right. And this is the part of mentorship. And I bring this up because, you know, this is the part of mentorship with spirit. Because when Darryl was telling me this yesterday in the pregame, I was telling him, it reminded me of this ritualistic, this sacred journey, right? Like you go to see your mentor, aka one of the sages, Larry. He tells you to sit on some stuff about, you know, hey, you know, what are you bringing to this? You know, he tells you to sit on that, and then he's bringing you to the gates. He's bringing you to the mystic warrior gates of these two men that are going to hold you in this space to help you challenge yourself. Because I also heard that's what you wanted. That's what you wanted, right? Because Jim was like, get help. That was mentorship. You followed the mentorship, which is another piece I want to make sure we highlight here. Okay. Mentorship is going to come. Everybody's got a choice. You could take it or you could leave it. You could have left Jim's advice and say, you know what, Jim, go kick rocks, man. I'm going to handle this my way.
Exactly.
In my judgment, that's when you stepped into leadership as soon as you called Larry. You really stepped in it because you're like, I'm far from being able to do this alone, man. There's no way in heck I'm going to be able to do this alone. And I want to talk to this, especially for, I value this conversation so much because anytime I've stepped in positions of leadership, I've been fearful that like, oh man, there's not many of me. If I'm in this leadership position, if I fail to walk this tightrope, I'm going to slip and bust my nuts in front of everyone. And there may never be another chance for another man like me again. Is that true? No. In my head, it is, though. You know what I'm saying, guys?
Yep.
You know, in my head, I'm like, my head is like, you better not slip. You better stop breathing. You know what I mean? So I think this is important to really highlight because, you know, especially as a man of color, there can be this fear because the examples I've seen before of men that have stepped into leadership that look like me, they've either been killed or defamed, or there's been some sort of scandal or something, or there's been an inauthenticity of being sold. Like, I'm for you. Like, Larry, you mentioned before, like, I'm for you, but I'm going to not be here when you call. I'm going to just be over here. So my number's different now. Don't try and call me. I'm here for you, though. Right. And I think there's that piece of, you know, finding that authenticity, which is what I appreciate about your journey. And I think this is also that part of spirit and the ancestors that, you know, all the ancestors that are available to us, they have this guidance, right? They have this way of being able to hold this space for us so that we can step into something as if it's a new beginning. And it's like we have a beginner mindset. Because I'm hearing with everything I've heard you say, man, it's like, you know, your intentions, I feel your intentions are real. And I also understand that I get from you that there may be some mistakes, you know, along the way. And I want to talk to that because, like, especially when we talk about mentorship and this moment that you mentioned with the Denzel, man, I want to highlight that. Like, what are the scenarios that you come to, or what are the scenarios that you share when someone's made a mistake and they've slipped up in a powerful position? Will Smith is a powerful man, a powerful black man at that, slapping another powerful black man in front of really a white collective belief system. We're pitting each other. So what is, like, give me some insight as like into that mentorship mentality as to like what can be said to someone that may slip off the path.
Brother Hurley?
To remember you're not alone. To remember wherever you are, square your shoulders, because your ancestors won't let you down.
Yeah.
They won't let you down.
Right. Man, taking a breath on that, and wow, this has been an experience, man. I'm like, first of all, having you two, I want to thank you two again for being here with me. And sharing this insight, because I judge this insight that you two have provided is powerful, is potent, really. There's two things I want to address before we wrap up, right? And Larry, well, actually, go ahead, man.
Real quick, I want to jump in on what Larry has said. So we are not alone. You know, you are never alone. Not only your ancestors, but Larry told me a long time ago, if I'm going on a weekend, you're going too. And he said, and if you go on a weekend, I'll be there. And I looked at him like, damn, man, you know, I may not want to do a weekend that you know, I may not plan on being on a weekend that you might go on, but he told me. And that is so important because not only physically, you know, having, as you said, Paul, being the only one on the weekend, okay, which is, it's so important to have that support.
Yeah.
But even if we are physically alone, we are not alone because we can call on the ancestors and have that inner strength and know, yeah, I can stand here. I can be present, and it's going to be okay. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, Paul, with your chain of thought where you're going, but go ahead, brother.
Oh man, I'm happy you said that. I'm so happy you said that, because listen, I think it's man. Oh man, I'm so happy you said that. This connection with the ancestors, and also, and I'm gonna call it right now because I'm calling it ancestors, right? And again, you listening, you may have a different name for this. The message that's really resonating is that call on the unseen forces and sources. Call on them. I keep hearing Erykah Badu on in my head, like, call them, like call on the ancestors, call on the guys, call on that, just call out, bring voice to what you need, where you want support. And something we were talking about before, something Malidoma Somé said, speak like it means something to you. All right. I'll never forget. I was watching Malidoma Somé on YouTube, and actually, Larry, it was after, I remember vividly. It was after the last Greater Carolinas staffing I did with you, right, down in Carolina. And I remember I came back. I was on my Malidoma Somé kick because you said you knew him. I was like, yeah, I knew they had to be connected. And I remember him saying, listen, if you're gonna call on the ancestors, call on them like you really are passionate about it. Not this and call on them like you deserve to be at the table. All right. Rather than oh, please, ancestors, I really want this piece of crumb that you have on the edge of the table. No, ancestors, I want a feast. I've been working hard. Or show me a sign. Is there another direction? Talk to him. Okay. Or begin to develop a practice of developing, talking to them. So before we wrap up, I got
to throw it in. Call on him like George Floyd called on his mama. Mama.
Oh hell.
Yeah, brother. That's it right there. That's it right there, bro. That's it right there. Hey, man. That resonated, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Darryl. Man.
Chair elect. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Wow. Darryl, thank you for that. And
yeah, thank you, Darryl.
As we wrap up, can you share what are some things you want to see, or what are some things that you're working towards this year as your term in chair, and what do you see as ways that men can support you?
One of the most important things for me that I'm working on is the cultural appropriation, where we are looking at our evolving relationship with our indigenous brothers and how to honor, how to show respect. And gratitude for our use of their traditions in this organization, which have served us all, okay, which have become the heart and soul of this organization. That's one main thing. What another thing? I want our elders to reach out to the other men in the organization, and especially if our elders have children or grandchildren, but to reach out to the men and comfort them, because the men in our organization are grieving. They're grieving because of maybe they've lost family or friends to COVID. And if they haven't, that hasn't happened to them, what they've lost that sense of gathering face to face, putting their arms around each other, looking each other in the eye, smelling each other.
Yeah.
They've lost that, and they are grieving over that. And they need to be comforted as you would comfort your child when your child is in distress.
Mm.
And we need to mentor. We need to mentor each other. Everybody in this organization needs to have a mentor, and everybody, and it's a two-way street, that mentoring.
Yeah.
And everybody who's mentoring had better have a mentor.
Mm.
Because you can't do it if you don't. So thanks for asking, Paul.
You're welcome. And Brother Darryl, is there in what you set out to do, is there a way that men can support you in this collective, man?
Showing up, brother.
Bless up. Thank you. Show up, man. Show up. And Brother Larry, the question I have for you as we wrap up is, you have been the key spoke in my wheel for getting me to align to spirit and have that constantly on my journey. So I judge in our collective that our connection to spirit on the grander scale is suffering. So I invite you, if you could share words with those that are listening on what would be your guidance on for them to begin to connect to spirit and the ancestors or something higher than them.
Well, all of us know that we look outside and we look up in the sky, we realize, I didn't make that. Somebody else made that. You go to the ocean and you watch the waves and you say, where'd this come from? I didn't do this. Whatever you believe in, whatever your faith is, you can always have a conversation with it. You can always, because there are always going to be unseen entities around you. You're never alone. You're sitting in a room and thinking you're by yourself, wondering who you're talking to. Oh, if you had any idea, if all of them illuminated, it would scare me to death. Yeah.
Brother Larry taking us to church. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Oh, brother. Oh, man. My spirit, my essence is vibrating so high and true right now of these words that we spoke in this session. And I'm so honored that you two took the time out of your schedule. I apologize for the time we ran over. I'm so honored that we had this space, that we have this space, and I'm honored and blessed and grateful for those that are listening to this because I think that there are gems that span across so many different groups and mindsets and presences and situations. So I'm extremely grateful. Listen, as we wrap up, thank everyone for listening. Judge Darryl, any last words before we wrap up and close the show out? Any last words to the people?
Thank you for being that vessel, Paul, to get the message out, brother. You really are. You are that light. You really are, brother. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Did you hear him, Paul? Did you hear what his words said?
Man. Yes.
This was a dream of yours, and well, guess what? You presented it. It manifested itself. There are men who are going to hear your words, and it's going to mean something.
Bless up.
It's going to mean something.
Bless up, man. Oh man, thank you for that. Thank you for that. And this was a dream, man, because I remember talking to Larry about it. I was like, yo, one of these days, man, I'm gonna get you on a podcast. The world's gonna hear your voice, Larry Hurley. Okay? They're gonna hear you. All right, and here we are. Thank you to you, man. I adore you more than words could ever describe. Thank you to the ancestors that were here with us. Thank you to the ones, the guides, all the saints, atmospheres, energies, and directions. Thank you for being here in this space with us today as we share these words and allow these words to carry out in vibrations and frequencies to resonate in those that are ready and set to hear them. We are grateful. We are so grateful. Thank you. We are honored and humbled. And so it is.
Ashe.
You got to call spirit. Call them. I just couldn't resist. I had to sing it. I had to sing that Erykah Badu remix of Call on Spirit. Whew. Listening to this session with Larry and Darryl, I'm vibrating authentically high right now. It's beautiful. And my hope and want for you is that this opened up a space for curiosity to find what your connection to spirit is for you. There's going to be a time in your life when you will need guidance that will come from something or someone that is unseen. And that someone or something unseen is connected directly to you and your internal wisdom, your internal skills and traits and authentic expression in how you can show up in this world, in this collective. So get curious, call on them, seek guidance, and be open to however it shows up. And I'm going to tell you right now, how it shows up may be completely the opposite or outside of how you envision what you wanted to show up. My hand is up. I go through that in life. Be with it. Be with spirit. Stay connected. This is Paul, one of your co-hosts for the Mankind Podcast. Thanks for listening, and until next time.
This has been another episode of the Mankind Podcast, produced in association with the Mankind Project USA. We have been your hosts, Paul Newell, Boyson Hodgson, and myself, Brandon Clift, and we want to thank our guests for joining us today and imparting their wisdom from their experiences in this amazing journey called life. If you want to find out more about today's guests and support them in their mission, you can find links to them in the show notes. Now, if you have found gold and insights that you believe could benefit your loved ones and those you care about, be sure to share it with them. And of course, we are always grateful for a rating and review of the show on iTunes. Now, we've got to give special thanks to our back-end team, producer, editor, and audio ninja for the show, Michael J. Russer, and Don Huff, who takes care of our graphics and promotions and pretty much makes us look pretty. So, of course, thank you, Don. Now, above all else, we've got to thank you, the listener, because through your attention and your support, you have made it possible for us to let men all over the world know that they are not alone and that there is more than one way to be a man. And if something in this episode has touched you, then perhaps it is the call to action to get involved in men's work. With live trainings happening constantly and in-person trainings happening all over the world, the Mankind Project definitely has something for you. Now, if you've enjoyed the music in this episode and all of our episodes, be sure to check out Jim Donovan and the Sun King Warriors. I have links to them in the show notes. And lastly, just know, what it means to me to be a man is completely different than what it means for you. What it means for Paul, what it means for Boyce, and that is the beauty of this journey. So if you are looking for guidance, support, and community as you begin to unpack and dive deeper into your men's work journey, then you know where to find us. Same place, same time, next week. Lots of love. We'll see you then.